Good day everyone! In this video, we will be talking about two topics. The first one is the bullwhip effect, its causes, and how to counteract the bullwhip effect. And for the second topic, we will be talking about the supply chains for service organizations, the internal operations, and the external distributors. So without further ado, let's get started! So first, sharing product demand information between members of a supply chain is critical. However, inaccurate or distorted information can travel to a chain like a bullwhip uncoiling. The bullwhip effect, as this is called, causes erratic replenishment orders placed on different levels in a supply chain that have no apparent link to the final product demand. The results are excessive inventory investment, poor customer service levels, ineffective transportation use, misused manufacturing capacity, and lost revenues. So we will discuss the causes of the bullwhip effect and how they send inaccurate or distorted information down the supply chain. First, however, let's look at the traditional supply chain shown in the figure and follow the product demand information flow from the final seller back to the manufacturer of the product. First, the final seller periodically places replenishment orders with the next level of the supply chain, which could be a local distributor. The timing and order quantity, for example, monthly orders in varying amounts, are determined by the final seller. The timing and quantity can be fixed or variable. Second, the local distributor has many customers, placing replenishment orders. Each final seller uses its own product demand estimates and quantity rules. Based on these replenishment orders, the local distributor places replenishment orders with its supplier, which could be a regional distribution center or RDC. Third one, as before, the customers determine the timing and quantity of orders placed with the RDC. Each RDC periodically places orders based on demand at the RDC by ordering from the manufacturer of the finished good. Fourth, in turn, the manufacturer develops plans and schedules production orders based on orders from the RDCs. The manufacturer does not know what the demand is for the finished good by the final customer, but knows only what the RDCs order. The greater the number of levels in a supply chain, the farther away the manufacturer is from the final customer demand. Since suppliers in the chain do not know what customers' demand is, or when a replenishment order might arrive, suppliers stockpile inventory. Now, for the causes of the bullwhip effect, there are four. The first one is the demand forecast updating, the second one is the order batching, the third one is price fluctuation, and the last one is rationing and shortage gaming. Now, let's look at each of these causes. Each member in the supply chain, beginning with the retailers, does demand forecast updating with every inventory review. Based on actual demand, the retailers update their demand forecast. The retailers review their current inventory level and based on their inventory policies, determine whether a replenishment order is needed. The wholesalers repeat the process. Note that the demand is from the retailer's inventory replenishments and may not reflect actual customer demand at the retail level. The wholesalers update their demand forecast and place appropriate replenishment orders with the distribution centers. The distributors repeat the process, updating their demand forecast based on demand from the wholesalers. The distributors review their inventory levels and place the appropriate orders with the manufacturer. These orders are determined by the inventory policies at the distribution. Orders placed with the manufacturer end up replenishing each level in the supply chain rather than being directly linked to end customer demand. A company does order batching when, instead of placing replenishment orders right after each unit is sold, it waits some period of time, sums up the number of units sold, and then place the order. This changes constant product demand to lumpy demand, a situation where certain levels in the supply chain experience periods of no demand. Order batching policies amplify variability in order timing and size. Price fluctuations cause companies to buy products before they need them. Price fluctuations follow special promotions like price discounts, quantity discounts, coupons, and rebates. Each of these price fluctuations affects the replenishment orders placed in the supply system. When prices are lower, members of the supply chain tend to buy in larger quantities. When prices increase, order quantities decrease. Price fluctuations create more demand variability within the supply chain. Rationing and shortage gaming result when demand exceeds supply, and products are rationed to members of the supply chain. Knowing that the manufacturer will ration items, customers within the supply chain often exaggerates their needs. For example, if you know the company is supplying only 50% of the order quantity, you double the order size. If you really need 100 pieces, you order 200, so you are sure to get what you need. Such game playing distorts true demand information in the system. So for the last topic, this is the counteracting the Bullwhip effect. Here are the 4 ways to counteract the Bullwhip effect. So the first one is change the way the suppliers forecast product demand by making this information from the final seller level available to all the levels in the supply chain. So this allows all levels to use the same product demand information when making replenishment decisions. Companies can do this by collecting point of sale, or what we call the POS informations, a functions available on most cash registers. So the second one is eliminate order batching. So companies typically use large order batches because of the relatively high cost of placing an order. Supply chain partners can reduce the ordering cost by using the electronic data interchange, or the EDI, to transmit information. So therefore, lower ordering costs eliminate the need for batch orders. So the third one is stabilize prices. Manufacturers can eliminate incentives for retail forward buying by creating a uniform wholesale pricing policy. So, for example, in the grocery, major manufacturers use an everyday low price policy or a value pricing strategy to discourage forward buying. And the last one is eliminate gaming. So, instead of filling an order based on a set of percentage, manufacturers can allocate products in proportions to past sales records. So customers then have no incentive to order a larger quantity to get the quantity they need. So up until now, the discussion focuses more on a supply chain for manufacturing organization rather than the supply organization. However, service organization can also benefit from a supply chain management. So a supply chain for a service organization is also similar to the manufacturing organizations, since the external distributors, the external suppliers, and the internal operations are also needed. Now, let's look at an example of a supply chain for a full-service travel agency as shown in the figure. The agency arranged a wide variety of trips for its customer. The service can be as simple as making airline, train, hotel, cruise, car rental, or personal tour arrangements for the customer. A customer can require a single type of service or have a highly complicated travel request. The internal operations in the travel agency are split into 2 parts: the travel enablement, or also known as the travel planning, and the travel payment or the travel billing. The travel enablement begins with qualifying potential suppliers of travel services, or what we call the sourcing. The agency does not provide the actual travel but makes the arrangements. The agency must know the scope of service provided as well as the quality of the services, the reliability of the provider, the safety of the service, the financial solvency, the language capability of the provider, and the like. As people travel throughout the world, it is critical to qualify any service provider used by the agency. The better the agency develops its external suppliers, the better it can match its customers with the right service providers. So for the financing, the next step deals with the different forms of credit since no business transaction is completed without assuring the financing first. Providers in many developing nations don't accept credit cards for payment, so it may be necessary to arrange the bank transfers or possibly in a local currency to finalize the service commitment. The agency must also clarify refund and cancellation policies. So for the next step, which is pricing, it deals with negotiation of terms for delivery of the service and price discounts. Group discounts may be available. Discounts may be offered for service booked during traditionally low seasons. The agency can use integrated cost data, including available discounts and other incentives, to influence customer decisions. So for the last process of travel enablement or travel planning is assuring that any risk is minimized for the customer. This can be done by having integrated supplier performance files. The agency can evaluate past performance by the supplier and determine how to minimize any risk associated with using the supplier or a travel insurance. So travel enablement is about having a database service providers that can access instantly for the use of arranging real-time travel for customers. So often the customer is sitting on a desk of a travel agent or is on the phone or on the internet with a travel agent. So let's go now to the travel billing or travel payment. It includes invoicing, dispute resolution, and payment to suppliers. The agency creates an integrated invoice for its customer. The agency can have both commercial and private accounts. Commercial clients can often receive a consolidated invoice monthly. Most private accounts are invoiced after the trip has been booked. It can include a payment required at time of booking, with the balance due prior to the actual travel. Providing a consolidated invoice reduces the number of transactions with the customer. Often systems for electronic payment are used. The agency can be the focal point for all compliant resolution. This reduces the risk of miscommunications and provides a resolution process for both the customer and the service provider. Payment of the invoice to the agency results in subsequent payment to the service providers. Ideally, payments are processed by data transfer, thus reducing the time to cash for the service providers. So for the external distributor, they are the one responsible to deliver the service to the customer. The external distributor is a service provider of the transportation or tour. It could be the airline, the cruise company, the tour guides, the car rental agency, etc. Although the agency makes all of the arrangements, the service provider is not part of the agency. Services deal with many of the same issues that face manufacturer. The intent is to integrate the internal operations. It could be the arranging for the travel, billing the customer, paying the service suppliers, and tracking the services provided to the customer. So that's all guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot. Bye!